Hopefully, the gentleman clicks in here. We can get an interview going. But until he does, we'll just go ahead and roll with. Okay. Until he does, we'll go ahead and roll with there. Um. Okay. Just a moment. All right. So today, like I said, October the 6th. Tomorrow is the 7th. Some people like duh after 6 or 7. But tomorrow, the reason why I say that is the last day to register to vote. So if you haven't already gotten that in, go ahead and try to get that in the day before tomorrow. And definitely try to early vote. That way we can get this thing going. That way you already know. Make sure you check your voter registration to be sure that um, you are in. You are into ready to vote, and you do have a location in the polling place. All right, so without further ado, I want to go ahead and shift gears here real quick since we're on that to Mr. Christopher Donahue. How are you, sir?
What's up, brother Chris? Can you hear me fine?
Oh yeah, we got you. Is this volume good? Okay. All right, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. How about yourself today?
Man, doing well, doing well. Well, I asked you to come on here and so we can kind of have a conversation based off of the conversation we had was about a month or so ago, and man, that inspired me, and I think that's something that more people need to hear. As much of it that you can share, man. If you could, introduce. You've been here before. Introduce yourself to the listeners, and we'll go from there.
Great, man. I'm Chris Donahue. I was born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. Grew up on the north side, the notorious north side, down on 12th Street, 13th Street in those days, man. Man, and it was a different life in a different era in my day and age.
Yeah, yeah.
In my teen years, grew up in the 30s, went to Central High School.
Mm-hmm.
After I graduated, went on
Eagles.
down to Lincoln University. Man, I made it through that. They was telling us we was blessed to make it through 1821 growing up in my days.
Man.
Went on down there to Central. Went and graduated from there. Went to Lincoln University.
Yeah.
Man, I loved. That was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Nice.
Met so many people. And that was really the keys, man. I know people all over the United States think because of that experience of that dorm life, and going to school and being 2 hours away from home, so I wouldn't run home and be on mama's titty all day and, do all these different things, man. That experience made me grow up.
Yeah.
And it made me work on my people skills.
Yeah.
So I was able to do that, man. And I didn't graduate from college. I didn't really even know where I was going. I didn't even have a real counselor that really gave me a real focus.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about salaries and how money worked. I wanted to work with kids. I knew that because I had been working with kids since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know how that really worked out in the adult world when it comes to finance and things like that.
Absolutely.
Got out of school and I got into real estate though. Yeah. I found the niche that I really liked. I loved real estate. I liked the money. I liked everything about it. So I embarked on the venture to become an appraiser. Went to Bobbitt Realty School over in Kansas. Got appraisal license, and then was making some good money because I got into investments.
Yeah.
Investment properties. Yeah. So that was good until the market crashed again. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I'm saying? But moving further today, I work with kids. I'm in the schools. Mentoring young men. I love to get back to the young men, especially in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I started a nonprofit organization to help veterans in transition, so rehab and abandoned foreclosed properties, help veterans. And then I also am licensed in financing, so I really like that. As far as generational wealth creation,
right?
Retirement packages, man, and that's one of the things. I got a great economic empowerment program I want to talk to you guys about too.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's dope. That's a mouthful in a short amount of time, brother. But that's great, man. It's always important to give back, and I think a lot of times that people feel that if they don't help the masses, then they can't help. Then their help is in vain. You can help a few people, man, and make some life altering changes in just one person. But a lot of times that's what I talk about when I talk about volunteering. It's not easy, but it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely good. But So yeah, you've been investing and you've done some real estate, and shout out to Lincoln University, man. I've had a couple people come through from from LU, yeah, HBCU, yeah, and I know a lot of times, even now that they've been had, not, I don't know if it's Lincoln University, but different HBCUs have really been looking for ways to to generate income and things like that, because that, I mean, that's how it is for historically black colleges, man. And
Yes,
but
sir.
so go ahead and talk a little bit about what, if you could, we talked about the other week, man. It's just talking about people that that go ahead, speak on that if you wouldn't mind.
Uh, well, some of the things we was just talking about is just kind of like where our community is going.
Yeah, right.
What we doing, what it's looking like for us right now.
Yeah,
Man, and our community is in trouble
yeah,
because we can see it. Starting especially with our youth, man. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I get back to the youth. The days of these youth, they really are struggling out here because they don't know anything about money and how money works. The school system, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm in there, but they failing our kids.
yeah, yeah.
Just being honest with them, they're failing them when it comes to the knowledge that we've been taught. We learning things like x minus square equals y.
Yeah,
Why the hell we learning that? When are we gonna ever use that?
yeah.
When have you used that since you've been out of school?
Not never.
Right?
Yeah,
They didn't teach us nothing about credit. I didn't learn about the concept of credit until I was in college. And they was giving me a credit card and I didn't even have a job, talking about just put your parents' names down.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So they don't teach us none of these things. They didn't teach me about real estate. I had to wait to go to school later on down. They didn't teach me about investments.
Yeah,
Right? They didn't teach us nothing about stocks, bonds, the market, how to really make any generational wealth. They didn't teach us nothing about business. Right? They didn't really want to teach us nothing about business.
yeah.
I was in school a little bit when they stopped out. And think about this: all the trades in school have been taken out.
Yep. Yeah.
You can't even learn a trade. They teaching you how to go to school for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right? Think about from a kid. You go to school for 8 hours. Right? You go in the morning. You go to recess at 10. Go to lunch at 12. Go to recess or nap time at 2. And then you out of there for the day.
Yeah.
You do that for 8 hours a day. Right? Then you get into high school and you go to school the same way. 8 hours. Go to classes, take your little hall breaks, go to lunch at 12, right? Get your little break in the middle, your recess or whatever, your gym. And then you out there 8 hours. So they teaching us and programming us at a young age to go to school for 40 hours a week. Yeah. So when we get older, we go to work for 40 hours a week. 40 years of our lives, right? People barely, they working 50, 60 years of their life before you can retire. Now, retirement ain't at 60 no more. It's close to 80 now.
Yeah.
You gotta think about that, man. That is tough.
Yeah.
And then they teach you to do that 40, 40, and then 40. Right? Most people is living check to check.
Yeah.
They check to check with 100% of their check and 2 jobs. And now when you retire, they telling you to take 40% on Social Security.
Yeah.
How is that working out for us? See, when I was a kid in the projects I played, that's my car, that's my house. I wanted the nice thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was taught if I go to school, it's go, I'm going to go to school, go to college, get a degree, right? Get a great job in that field.
Yeah.
White picket fence and live an American life, but that ain't working out for our community. Most people graduate, can't even get a job in that field.
In that field. You're right. You're right. No, I there's a sister named Lynn Richardson. She says she made so much money, but her money only lasted from Friday to Monday. So man, her check was from Friday to Monday.
In our community, right? Ooh, let me talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
So they say that the Chinese dollar circulates 11 times in their community.
Right.
Man, you don't see no Chinese people in no stores in our communities.
No. Not anymore.
They dollars circulate 11 times amongst their community and their businesses. Right? You don't even see Chinese people in Chinese restaurants.
Man. Right.
Their money is circulating in their community. They say the Jewish dollar is circulating 9 times in that community.
Yeah.
Before it leaves.
Yeah.
The European community's dollar circulating 5 times.
Yep.
Maybe 6. I think the last time maybe said 6 times.
Yeah.
The African American dollar circulates for 5 hours.
I was gonna say a few hours. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that means you get paid at 5 o'clock on Friday. It's gone by 10 o'clock to every other nationalities' business. Nothing is circulating in our community.
Turn up on Saturday.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And here's another thing that I found out, man, when it comes to generational wealth. If you don't come from a wealthy family got to come from you.
Right, man. Yeah.
Create that.
Yeah.
You have to create that. That is the biggest focus, man. Generational wealth versus generational debt.
Yeah. I was looking at the census. The census is every 10 years. We just did the 2020 census, and I was sitting there looking. I'm like, man, if we don't trust in the system, which is understandable so to a degree, but if you don't take that census, man, that's a whole nother 10 years that you're miscounted, misappropriated, funds not really directed into your communities. That's 10 years. Yeah. That's a big gap.
Yeah, that's critical. That's critical, man.
And I think when we look at that, man, and we look at people not being able to be trustworthy, whether people say whether it's the white man, whether it says the brothers and things like that. You gotta look at a simple fact that, man, hey, you gotta find a person that's a common that you can ally with, man, that definitely has your best interest at heart, man. You gotta definitely do for yourself, but definitely gotta find out. You can only go so far by yourself, man, but you go farther with other people, man. That's why I respect you and the things that you do, the conversations that we had, man. You definitely have a team of people that you work with, man, that definitely push you forward, and that's what needs to be happening, man. You can't do it alone, man.
Yeah, man. I'm blessed to say I work with this organization. It's called the African American Leadership Council of Finance. Mm-hmm. To even be on this council, you have to make at least $200,000 or more every 12 months. It is the modern day Black Wall Street. Yeah. They in all 51 states. They in Canada and Mexico. So you ain't just bombing one state and getting rid of them ever again. That'll never happen.
Yeah.
But there's some African Americans that specialize in resources and financial literacy for our community. Man, that is one of the most powerful things. Like, they do an annual convention every year. They normally rent out the biggest Marriott in Orlando, Florida. It's 15,000 African American business owners there. 15,000 of them, man. They rent out this big hotel, the biggest Marriott in the United States, and it is so much peace and harmony. It's something that Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, if they seen that,
yeah,
man, they know their work could never be in vain. It's something that's never promoted on the news, ever. It's not one argument, not one fight. Right, people is getting along, man. They breaking bread with each other and giving each other resources and business ideas. It is peace and harmony, and it's the most powerful thing I ever seen.
Yeah.
To see people that look just like me and you that come from all walks of life.
Absolutely.
Not just the smart ones, not all the degree people and all those different things like that.
Yeah.
Right, but it's people that came from the hood, from the projects, from different countries. Right, it comes from all walks of life, man. I don't care who you are and what you are. Right, this is the organization that helps everybody. They not biased. They don't care about how young you are, how tall you are, how old you are, how slim you are. None of that stuff. They just want to know if you want to be serious about business and help to make your dollars circulate in your community amongst your people.
Absolutely, brother. That's the thing, man. There's enough resources out here, brother. There's enough resources. There's enough money. There's enough all that stuff, man. There's enough resources. I remember when I bought my first house, man, my sister-in-law, she had 2 houses, brother. She would not tell us how to get a house, man. She wouldn't give us the resources. She had 2 houses, and one house was dedicated to her business. And we're thinking like, man, why, what's the catch? You know what I mean? So we end up going through the whole classes and stuff, which had benefited us years ago after that. But I'm like, well, why wouldn't you want to share that though, man? Somebody that looks like you that's trying to, we ain't gang banging, we ain't, dope selling and nothing like that, man. We trying to buy a house. But that's unfortunately, man, that's something that we got to get over, man. And before we get over that, that's something that needs to die in our community. Not people in general, but that mentality has got to go first.
Yeah. That's that Willie Lynch syndrome, brother. I'm talking. Willie Lynch was a bad. If you ain't never read that letter, I know you have.
Yeah.
But to our audience, if you've never read the Willie Lynch letter, right, man, this thing is so deep and it's so critical in how effective it is today.
Yeah.
In that letter, he's telling them everything from slave master to slave master to not only how to enslave their slaves, which was us, for the next 10 years, but for tens of thousands of years.
That's right.
And it's simple. They said, They can never. You got to make it where they never trust each other ever
Absolutely.
again.
Yeah.
Right? Make the light skinned one stay in the house.
Yep.
Keep the dark one in the field in the sun.
As soon as
slave the dark one out there a little bit harder and do less to the light skinned one, sort of create strife and envy.
Absolutely.
Put the heavy set against the slim ones,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. As soon as the baby's born, take the baby from the mother, so they wouldn't create that bond.
That's separate the older from the youngers, right? So they can't pass that generational knowledge down.
Yeah.
He told them, man, just do these simple things, right? Keep them against each other. You know, use every single thing. For one's hair is straighter to one's is more crinklier. One is heavier to one's. Use every single thing you can to keep them separated. And that's what he said. He said if all else fails, this was the most powerful thing. He said if all else fails, whoop the man in front of them, whoop him and kill him and beat him in front of their wives and kids so they can have the fear that they can't be protected by them. But if none of that don't work, use religion to keep them separated because they're so spiritual.
Yeah.
Man, that's why so many sects of religion. It's only one God that makes the sun rise in the east and set in the west. Yeah. We fighting over names, colors,
denominations,
denominations. Man, what in the world is we thinking about? We didn't need all the religions. We spiritual by nature, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you gotta look at that, man. Cause I went through I'll be honest, I went through a phase in life, man. I was like, man, what's wrong with me? You know, a lot of times you see so many things going against you, man. You go out your front door and you look at your neighborhood, man. Your neighborhood hasn't moved in not one way or the other. You're going down the street, then the cops situation, man. You go into the the liquor store or the convenience store, and it ain't nobody that looks like you, but then they treat you like dirt. You know what I mean? And it's hard not to spend money there because they right around the corner. But I have made a conscious decision. I stopped going to certain stores. I would actually ride my bike to the next store, man. The brother didn't really look like us, but at least he didn't treat us that bad.
Man, it's crazy. I'm talking about in 2020. I just went to a dang on. I was running in and out for something for a Dollar Tree or Family Dollar or something.
Yeah.
Right, I'm in here. I ain't no kid. I'm a grown man. I don't dress like a kid. I ain't wearing all them weird stuff, and I'm dressed like an adult. I'm in here. I'm looking for something I can't find it. So I see this guy. He's dressed in a suit. This is a European guy.
Yeah.
I politely, hey, excuse me. He just keep ignoring me. So I said, excuse me, like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He goes down like he don't see me keep going down. He coming back, so I'm still standing there because there ain't no other way for him to go.
Right.
And I'm doing like this, like. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me right? All right.
So then he says, what you want? I said, excuse me?
Yeah.
Man, this is your job. What do you mean what I want? So that means you can hear me. You ignore me.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm here spending my money and you in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, what sense is that making, man? This is your job. I didn't come at you disrespectful. What you want? Man, that ain't how you talk to no adults.
Right.
I had to tell him, man, I want to know who your district manager is. Not just your regular manager, because he might not do nothing to you.
Yeah.
He try to play all that role he don't know. And let me go to the front and find out.
Right.
And I'm not going to be spending my money in you in my neighborhood and I'm getting treated like this.
Yeah.
Now, ignorant young men would have snapped on you, cussed you out, start disrespecting you. Yeah. And you wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah.
It don't make no sense. Man, I've been in customer service for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I treat people exactly how I want to be treated. If you don't like your job, you should quit.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true, Chris. I couldn't agree more, man. Oftentimes I think it's the way that people perceive us, man, and we respect each other, but it's the way that the camera's angled toward us, man, because the camera only showed the negativity, like you talked about just a moment ago. Going to the mirror, you seen brothers that was breaking bread and folks that was really looking out for each other, man. It was really going after it, man, and wanted to help each other, man. We got a comment here real quick, Mr. Forrest Tyson. I can't read it now. All right. Yeah, Mr. Forrest Tyson says, if people believe like I do, we will be all right, and it's not. I got mine. You got to get yours with me. Yeah, I got mine. It's mine. Let's go get yours. Yeah, I mean that's how some people believe. Is I got mine, so you got to go get yours. And oftentimes, man, that works to a degree. It works to a degree that sometimes there are people that need a little extra help. may not totally understand, as you talked about, Brother Chris, the money game. Might not understand, real estate, might not understand the business aspect, or investing and things like that. I mean, how can I invest in the stock and the bond in a future, or mutual, and if I can't even figure out how to save my money or keep my money?
Exactly.
So that right there puts me at advantage, because I mean, like we talked about, was 5 hours. If I can't, if it's listen, if if it's going out of my hand as fast as I can get it, I ain't got nothing to invest.
Right.
I have nothing to invest. I can't even get the concept of it, man.
Right.
So how do we change our mindset, Chris? Man, I know it's a mind. It's got to be a mind shifting thing, man. Do we spend less and save more? I mean, I know saving, when you save, it's only, they only give you a few pennies on your dollar anyway when you put in the savings account. so how do we get past that mindset, man? Is I know McDonald's, they were talking about, from $6 and $7 an hour to $15, $16 an hour, or whatever the case. McDonald's is in almost in every neighborhood. So how do we break that mentality, man?
Man, the mentality is like, just like what the brother said. I got mine, and now it's time to get yours.
Sure.
That's one way you can look at it. Mm-hmm. Here's one thing that I look at. If I hold my fist closed, can't nobody take nothing out of my hand.
Yeah.
Can't get nothing from it. It's locked. You know what I'm saying? But can't nobody put nothing in it either.
Right.
That's the real key to it.
Yeah.
Right?
It is. I was reading the parable the other day, man, talking about Jesus and everything. He gave was it 3 people, he gave them a talent to go and do with that talent. Well, one took the talent, and he took it back, and he made a little profit off of. Another one took the talent, and he made twice as much. As the other one took the talent and buried it. And he was like, "Well, wait a minute, you're supposed to do something with it." He said, "Well, I don't want to do anything with it, because I didn't want to lose it." So he said, "Well, that wasn't really what I wanted you to do with that." So oftentimes, man, we take the money that we have, and we hold on to it so tight, to the degree that we don't do nothing with it. And if we do anything with it, oftentimes it's the wrong thing, man. Yeah. And we've been studied, folks that don't live out in our community, they study the pattern, say, hey man, hey, the new $300 pair of Jordans coming out. Take them over there on 63rd and Prospect. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you get a line, and for sure you'll see the truck pull up. The gang of brothers with a line around the corner
all day.
$250 pair of Jordans, man. They studied this, brother. We're consumer based, man. That's you gotta get past that. I'm no investor yet, but I need to learn myself. But definitely, it takes a mind shift and a mindset, and that mind change, brother.
Yeah. And I think it all starts with financial literacy.
It does.
Like I said, that's why I work. That's why I focus on the youth and the kids. Man, I'm bringing them simple concepts to them about counting coins.
Yeah.
I want them to hear about banking. Going back to school, they don't teach us nothing about compound interest, how to make our money grow. Just imagine this. At age 25, right, just take a look at this. On the global economy investments, I'll just be researching a few little things, mutual funds, annuities, different things like that,
right.
Money smart accounts, 529, just different investment packages to go with portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And so who is teaching this in school? At age 25, a person can take $50 a week. That's $200 in a month.
Right.
At a 9% interest rate, right, with compound interest growing. And at age 65, which is 40 years down the line, they will accumulate $943,000 plus, almost becoming a liquid millionaire.
Yeah.
Who's talking about that?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody teaching us this in school.
Yeah.
Right? And the craziest thing, some of the times when some of our people hear this information, we like to procrastinate. You wait just 1 year and you hear that type of information, and you don't invest. Okay, you could have put 200 times that's $2,400 that you kept in your house and in your pocket or wasting or whatever you did.
Yeah.
But you generally lose about $83,000 just for waiting 1 year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. But if somebody is really teaching us and helping us to do that and taking it straight out of our check, direct deposit it to that investment where we don't miss it.
Yeah.
Man,
people
with this all day. Who's talking to us about the banker's rule, the rule of 72? See, I never learned this in school either.
Yeah.
Like, how long do it take your money to double at Bank of America? If you put 10,000 in the bank, how long will it take before it be 20,000?
Forever, man.
See, but they ain't teaching us the calculation. It's a real mathematical formula to tell you how long it takes. You got to divide your interest rate into the number 72.
Yeah.
Average checking and savings account give you 0.6. That's less than 1%. Yeah. Round up to 1. 1 into 72 is 72 years for your money to double in that account. Who is teaching us this?
Yeah.
Who's teaching us 3%, right? At least 3% of the 72. That's like 24. You get 24 years for your money to double, right? 12%, that's like 6 years. But if you start looking at that with compound interest in it, we talking on a difference at 3%, right? In 48, 50 years having 40,000 versus 12% having $2.5 million because it's double way faster, more compound interest. Ain't nobody teaching us these concepts.
Yeah.
I didn't learn nothing about none of this stuff until the last 4 years, and I'm in my 40s. Through this organization, the African American Leadership Council, they're giving us this knowledge. They teach us about generational wealth, man. See, this is what they be thinking. This is what I found out. I go to the store, I buy a big screen TV, I get instant gratification. I'm going home, I'm watching Netflix.
Right.
I buy some dang on Jordans, I'm putting them on, I'm showing them off for the lady. Instant gratification, some jewelry, rims, whatever, right? Everything that depreciates with value as soon as you buy it.
Yeah.
You get those things.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody talking about when I buy life insurance that I'm purchasing wealth for my family.
Yeah.
Who's having that conversation?
Yeah.
And see, we don't understand it as a people because we ain't got that instant gratification of putting it in our hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might not necessarily need to have it. I mean, you might not need it. But your responsibilities above earth, when you 6 feet under the ground, still says you need to have that coming in. You got responsibilities, kids, right? Kids, spouses, things like that. When your heart stopped beating, man, every dollar you was bringing in is never coming back to that household. Now she got to go find another job or another Bob, and ain't nobody even raising your kids or one of your friends because she getting somebody like you is kicking your kids in the ass. And excuse my language, but that's what's really be happening because we leaving our people with GoFundMe.
Yeah. Oh man, come on.
I apologize for my language, but it's serious.
Yeah. No, you said that, man. I had a friend of mine that did some eulogy over some funerals and stuff, man, and you'd be surprised with how many GoFundMe accounts that in funeral homes in our communities that we take up, because the being prepared wasn't there. It wasn't even a second thought. It was like, tomorrow's promised. Well, tomorrow's not promised. Nobody knows. Yeah.
They got rims, they got watches, they got jewelry.
Yeah.
They on 18th and Vine at the dang on Sugar Shack Club, that whatever that little club was. I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah.
They at Sprint Center when Beyonce come in town, right? They got these red bottoms and these purses. Right, they balling on Facebook, flashing money, doing all this stuff, and then when they die, they doing a GoFundMe.
GoFundMe.
There's 7,000 to 10,000 that buried this adult that left 4 or 5 kids, and now they already got a emotional devastation. Now they got to embarrass themselves and beg the world to help bury you. Right, go to the churches and beg the pastors for a fish fry and a chicken dinner.
Yeah.
Come on, man, we got to change our priorities.
We do.
We ain't got no insurance, right? Because tomorrow ain't promised, man. People is walking out their house. COVID, they breathing on you, coughing at your job, go to the hospital and you ain't making it home. Man, that ain't all this. I want to think about it. What is it to think about when it's protecting your family?
Yeah.
See, the Bible says your heart is where your treasure is. What you spend your money on, that's what you love. You're supposed to leave an inheritance to your children and your children. All these people be talking about church and religion and all this. Man, let's follow the principles, not just pick and choose what part we want to obey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a sobering message. It is, and it ain't always pretty and it ain't always flashy. It's definitely you definitely gotta grind, man. And that's the hard nosed truth.
Man,
we got to, man, and if we don't, we'll continue to get what we've gotten, and we see that, man. Like you said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's insanity. Like, that's crazy. That's the definition of crazy. But yet we continue to do that, man. And that's unfortunate. I'm gonna take a quick break here, Brother Donahue, man, and we'll come back on the other side if I got you for another moment, man.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll come back on the other side. It's just a street therapy with my man Chris sitting there. My guest for today is Mr. Christopher Donahue, my man, breaking down the money and how do we get past this mentality. We got to move forward.
All right, hey everybody, this is Scatter. You might remember me from way back in the Zodiac days. Be sure and check us out. We're going to be here every day from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It's old school with Scatter. Scatter's back. Check me out on the internet, KUAW.org. For all you for sale Central Manulite people, want you to remember that in the 60s and the 70s, we had some good music. If you want to hear some of the Temptations, some of Smokey Robinson, some of the Tim Free, things that you don't get every day, DJ Scatter remembers he's going to have it for you.
Bank of Blue Valley is a proud sponsor of KUAW Radio. At Bank of Blue Valley, we believe that an understanding of financial values sets individuals up for a strong future. Whether you want to talk about checking and savings accounts, review lending alternatives, or discuss starting your own business, we have the right people to listen and advise. Visit us at bankbv.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to 98.5. This is KUAW, Kansas City, Missouri. Glad you're listening. Keep tuning to the new voice in Kansas City.
Hi, my name is Felania Johnson, and I'm a freshman at Purcell Academy of Fine and Performing Arts.
My name is Mayan Charity, and I'm a 7th grader at Lincoln College Preparatory.
STEM is a program about science, technology, engineering, and math. More girls our age should get more involved in the program because there's a shortage of black girls in STEM.
African American women make up just 2% of engineers. Roughly 1/3 of students of color express an interest in STEM. Most black women think that STEM is too challenging. We are sisters in STEM, and we are encouraging young black teens to join STEM.
If you're interested in more information, please contact.
All right, everybody, we are back in studio. I think am I alone now? Okay, all right. I am alone for this last segment, but definitely, Brother Donahue was definitely telling us some things that we really need to look into. He had to jump off, take care of some other things. But listen, Brother Chris, oh, he's still there. Okay, all right. Well, he's still here, so we're going back in. No, okay, but definitely when we pull him back up here, I'll go ahead and talk until we get him back. But yeah, definitely some things to think about, man. We have to create generational wealth. You know, they say, what is it? You know, most of us live check to check, and I think really the biggest thing for okay. The biggest thing for me was even when COVID hit, you know, COVID-19, we noticed that when the jobs began to shut down, they took a lot of the workforce with them, and a lot of the workforce was just simply people that were working paycheck to paycheck, you know, and folks that were definitely devastated behind that, you know, and having that vacuum, man, it created a lot of tension, you know, the rise in spousal issues and the rise in child abuse and things like that, and even the rise in substance abuse. A few months ago, I had a gentleman on the show, Gregory Parr, was talking about just even in the homeless shelters and in the drug treatment centers, having a rise in a lot of people that's been kind of coming in needing support as far as help with drug abuse and also with food, you know. And I don't know if you've noticed that there's been a lot of different avenues where people have had food pantries. You know, they've had food pantries in the churches and things like that, but now they've been having drive-up food pantries, you know. And I think that's good. That's really part of community service, you know, serving the community that you're from, and really relieving that pressure, you know, because a lot oftentimes is, man, when that pressure hits, trust me, it's tough, you know. Like I've said on the air before, you know, having to go home with our little one and do Zoom at home with her, and you know, go to work and shift your hours and things like that. That's a difficult task, you know, but you're able to do it, and finding resources to do that. We talked about having resources a little bit on the show earlier, just having those different resources in our community. I know here at KUAW, we're with the Black Family Technologists Awareness Association, excuse me, and they definitely have programs in place where you can reach out to some of the members to get a lot of young people to engage in robotics and stuff. And I think there's some more things that we're working on to get people involved in things like that to alleviate a lot of that pressure, because it is tough. When you're working at your job, and your job is whatever it may be, and then you have to go from being this particular employee or whatnot to now you have to be what you do plus a teacher. Well, you don't get paid to teach, but you got to teach your kids, and the curriculum and things like that is difficult, but yet you got to make that happen. And the one thing that I've noticed is even dealing with that is just the frustration part about it. And I do notice that. Let me rewind real quick. I say this: sending your kids back to school and going back to school, going in and out, is a scary thing. Because as much as wife and I wanted to send our little one back into school and things like that, but to go back in there and then you got COVID hitting there in the back of your mind, you're thinking, that's a scary sight. But yet that your curriculum has, and you hope and pray that all of the things are in place for them to go ahead and make that transition or whatnot. So, but that's definitely something that's important as far as what we deal with at our home. I think we got Brother Chris back. All right, he was there. Okay, he'll be back. Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. My man Chris, brother, when you come in, just we can see you pop up. Just say something, man. Yeah. So anyway, like I was saying, it's a difficult task, but we have to do it, and it's really how you set yourself up, man. How you set your priorities, how you set everything up, because it's difficult in the fact that we don't learn this stuff, man. But it's easy in the fact that it's easy if you teach your kids while you're at home. Then teaching your kids a curriculum, it shouldn't be that difficult, other than the fact that if you don't know the curriculum. All right, so anyway, that's that. And talking about generational wealth, that's something I'll be 42 next week, man, Lord willing. Yeah, okay. And that's something that we definitely need to really look at. That's something that I'm learning, at 40, 41, 42 years old. That's something that I was never taught about, generational wealth, and I think they said this season of millionaires, most of these millionaires right now are first generation millionaires. And brother, that says a lot, man. Most of these millionaires now are first generation millionaires. That says a lot, Brother Donahue, are you back with us?
Yes, sir, man. I'm tuned right into what you're saying.
Yeah.
First generational millionaires.
Yeah,
that
man.
Goes back to exactly what I said. If you don't come from a wealthy family, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
If you're not born into money, that's not your fault. But if you die broke, that is our fault. Our fault. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we do want to teach one and pull each other up. But life insurance is the fastest way to create first generational wealth.
Wow.
I teach people because it takes the time to invest. See, some people be like, I want to start investing before I get me a solid plan. And all insurance ain't the same. Let me tell you, this is one of the things that I found out. I want y'all to Google this. Google this. This what put my passion behind me for real.
Yeah.
When you see Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, right? When you see Harriet Tubman out there, well, not Harriet Tubman, but Malcolm and Martin in that area.
Right.
When you see them fighting for our civil rights, they was also fighting for our life insurance rights.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't talk about that. They don't know that. They was fighting for us. So we got 400 or 500 years of free blood, sweat, and tears to build this country.
Yeah.
Right? Our free labor. Then we got castrated, murdered, killed, kidnapped, or if we was lucky to die naturally, slave owners got the money. It's a Wall Street Journal. Google this. It's called Wall Street Journal. Niggers insurance with an ER.
Oh,
Google that.
oh, man, I'm gonna write that down.
Couldn't even get insurance until the 60s. That's why you see so many other nationalities of people ahead financially.
Yeah.
We was not allowed to get life insurance until the 60s by law. Now, there was some exceptions that the owners, whatever they did with some of them, but generally for the consensus of a whole, we couldn't get life insurance to the 60s. And when they let us get it, right, when you read the article, it tells you. You know the Wall Street Journal is a real journal. That's a real paper.
Yeah.
When you read the article, it tells you that we was not allowed to get more than 10,000. So when you look at grandma, great grandma, and them, if you got real grandmas, not the new version grandmas that's 40, you know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about the grandmas that's 70, 60, 80, great grandmas, them age. You ever look at their life insurance policy, they could only buy whole life, which was considered niggers insurance, because they sold two different types. They sold niggers insurance and whites only insurance.
Wow.
And we to pass more than 10,000 while they was passing $1.5 million to their people. Into the 70s, we couldn't pass more than 10,000. This is facts. Go Google that. Look it up.
Yeah, Google that.
Oh, that's how they got ahead. Let me tell you, Chinese people, they put $1 million on the oldest person that come over to the United States, and they $1 million. Let me tell you how they win.
Yeah.
$1 million. 4 families might split. It might be $400 a month. 4 families paying $100 a piece. That elder dies of the family, right?
Right.
When he dies, that's $250 for his family, $250 for that family, $250 for that family, right. $250 for that family. Now they created wealth. Now what do? They come right to our neighborhoods, and you see wig shops where they got control of all the hair, even though they got control of all the hair.
Yeah.
Right? They do nail shops and toe shops, doing all of our toes and nails.
Yeah.
And then they give us Chinese food that they don't even go in there and buy their damn self.
Yeah, man.
Right in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right in our neighborhood. This is how they get ahead.
Yeah.
And this is what happens, and we not learning to get purchase generational wealth for our families. I don't care if it's 4 or 5 brothers and mama ain't got nothing or daddy got nothing right now. Y'all need to get a solid plan on them that really pays. It's 4 forms of death. This was crazy about whole life too.
Yeah. Right?
It only covers 1 form of death most of the time, unless you buy additional coverages. You got natural cause if somebody go to sleep and don't wake up.
Yeah.
Accidents, car wrecks, planes, motorcycles. A stray bullet, whether it's for you or not, is considered a homicide category. And then you got suicides. And when they start letting African Americans get life insurance, they only cover 1. How we gonna tell the creator how we gonna transition?
How you gonna? Yeah.
And then 90% of job policies out here, you gotta die on the job.
Yep.
I didn't even know this before this information.
Yeah.
And if you quit your job or downsize, they don't cover your kids. And if you leave, you most of the time it's so unaffordable that you can't take it with you no way. You gotta have something you gotta really read the clauses in this stuff.
So
I'm running around crazy Kansas City at my job, $20,000, and I had to die on the job, or I got 1 hour going to work or 1 hour going home that I could die in an accident. Couldn't be nothing natural or no other way.
Yeah.
And then my family. That's why you see so many young ladies. Ladies real responsible when it comes to jobs. Think about that. Men, they do whatever hustles and all that stuff. But women, think about all these women with jobs and they dying and they doing GoFundMe. Why they doing a GoFundMe with a job?
Yeah. You know, then you die, man, with that $10,000 life insurance policy, man. Then you're back at square one.
Man, you back at square one.
You know, $10,000 really just kind of covers the funeral expenses. It don't cover whatever debt that we might have left behind.
Yes. Yeah, and I do the simple analysis, right? Black people, we don't want nothing long and drawn out. We want it to the point, what it's going to be, what benefit is it to me and my family? Because money is only it's only an issue in the absence of value.
Yeah.
See, when I value something, I'm going to pay for it regardless.
Right. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I sit down with the average family and I do this analysis, it's so simple. It's called the dime, right? It looks at 4 major areas. The D in the dime looks at when you die, right? A funeral got to be paid. Your funeral finance expenses is $7,000 to $10,000 to bury an adult today. But inflation, 30, 40 years from now, you're going to need at least $15,000. Cost of living going up, the cost of burial is too.
Yep.
Think about that.
Yep.
And if you got any consumer debts, right? I don't care if you just bought a car and you didn't pay it all the way off. Man, the car man might love you and your family, but if you can't make that car note, you died, they're going to tell your family, sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
We repossessing that car.
We need to get that car.
Just point blank, period.
Yeah.
So just for funeral fund expenses, you need 10 to 15,000.
Yeah.
But what about replacing what you are to your family? Your income being replaced. That's the eye and the dime.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. I thought it was just about burying somebody. But replacing your income, look at the average. Look at these numbers. You bring in $2,000 a month, right? This is a small person bringing in $2,000 a month. Times 12, that's $24,000 in a year.
Right.
Right? They got kids.
Right.
Say they got an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. You got to protect the kids at least until they're 18. That's when they can start a career, labor laws.
Yep.
So now that $24,000 need to be protected for 10 years. That's $240,000 that you need for income replacement. That ain't nobody balling. That's just your check coming in for 10 years because most kids and spouses, they need at least 10 years to transition from life with you if you the breadwinner to life without you being there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just makes sense. Protect your income.
Yeah.
I ain't talking about a burial plan or 2 to 3 years your annual salary. What happened in year 4 to 5 to your kids, your wife, another job or another job, and then the TV in the street raising your kids.
Yeah, yeah.
In the streets is raising your kids in this rap music with these rappers ain't near about doing half the stuff they talking about.
Right. Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
The EM and the dime looks at your mortgage, right? Think about this. In the United States, they say 90 days or less when a spouse dies, the other one lose the house. Now, this person on their way to heaven and your family on the way to somebody's basement. You got to protect your mortgage, too. We teach people this. And then for a minor university, the E and the dime, education or entrepreneurship. Right? A minor university, Lincoln University, for this $60,000 for a 4-year degree. And here's the reason why most of our kids ain't graduating at a high rate. Chinese kids, European kids, their parents take care of the whole thing. Their college tuition is taken care of. Now they can study on the books.
Yeah.
Our kids got to beg for Pell Grants, right? Student loans. We got to get part-time job. We got to have a hustle job on the campus, right? We can't even focus on the books. That's why we not excelling like that anyway.
Too much
so
over.
When you add up them numbers, just think about the average. That's $15,000 for funeral final expenses.
Yeah.
Maybe 15 for debt and stuff like that's 30,000. 240,000 for income replacement. 100,000 for your mortgage if you owe a house. 60,000 for the school, right? That's about $430,000 that an average family needs. But we got 10, 20,000 at the job. And that's just replacing what you are to your family.
That's it. And that's
good thing we show people how affordable we can help them get something, man. That's the real key.
And that's barely scratching the bucket, man.
Simple.
Yeah. Whew. I mean, that's a lot of information. That's sobering. That is sobering, man. And you know, where does somebody start, Brother Chris? If somebody's really looking like, you know what, man, I'm feeling what Brother Chris is saying, man. Brother, how do I start from ground one? How do I start from ground one? Somebody's really somebody on this show right now.
Because you know, we do all types of financial needs analysis. Basically, we take your bills, right? Your bills and your liabilities, and we match them against your income and your assets. That's really what we do.
Yeah.
And we look at your credit. You see what I mean?
Right.
We teach you the basic concepts of building a solid foundational home, which always starts with solid life insurance, and teach you about investments. You help people get licensed in this information. We help people with real estate. Like, we touch on the things that you can continually make leverage income, residual income, and you can pass, passive income, and you can pass it from generation to generation.
Beautiful.
So that's what we focus on now. I'm gonna let people. I'm on Facebook. I'm Christopher, the full name Donahue. You can look me up, send me an inbox. My contact number. I'm gonna give my contact number out because we help people with resources. Just period. 816-337-8267. That's 816-337-8267. Even if you're just interested in getting this information out, like a part of the movement, this is a crusade to educate our people. Man, our people is perishing with, and they leaving nothing.
Yeah.
Generation for one reason and one reason only. Because we make Nike pop, we make Gucci pop, is lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. We ain't stupid or ignorant at all.
No.
We are the most educated people on earth, to be honest. We the real creators. We didn't have the patents to take claim for all the stuff we created.
Facts.
Throughout history. But if you look at our real history past slavery,
yes, sir,
we civilized the world, the Moors. We created the pyramids. We civilized all these different nations of people, right? But we forgot who we are and we lost our truth, our knowledge of self. So it's a movement just to get the information out, period, right? That's what we doing too.
Yeah.
And we talk to all nationalities of people. Don't get it twisted because I'm talking about the African American. I talk to all nationalities of people.
Yeah.
But I have a real interest in my people's future too. They said in 2053 or 2052, the net worth of the African American is predicted to be zero. Zero. These is facts, man. Look this stuff up I'm talking about. I research. You got to study to show yourself approved, man.
Yeah.
And here's the key.
Yeah.
You got to start putting together a plan, right? You should never spend all your business time building another man's business, right? Going to work for somebody else, clocking in for them, making a family rich. What does your boss know that you don't know about yourself?
Yeah.
They take leverage income.
Yeah.
They don't require their time. That's what you got to learn too.
Yeah, I was talking to the brother, man. He said something to me a while back that says, he says if a man doesn't plan, if a man doesn't create a plan, then he plans to fail. And that makes so much sense, man. If a man doesn't set up a plan, then he plans to fail, brother.
Man,
we've been unconsciously planning to fail. Just by happenstance, man, by accident. It ain't by accident, but we've been just falling into the fell in the plan category, man, and maybe that's why oftentimes is we see the brothers getting shot and things like that, man, and we look and we say, oh man, that's bad, oh man, that's sad, oh man, another brother shot, oh man, it's another sister shot, and to me, I was upset and still are upset. But it's to the point now where it's crazy, man. It's embarrassing. It's just like, that right there is, I don't know if it's saying that we don't matter, or is the fact that it's like, not really that important, or, it's sending a signal to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's deep, bro. And that's deep that you said that, man, because first and foremost, if we don't show that our lives matter,
yeah.
Who else is? We screaming Black Lives Matter, but when they gonna matter to us too?
Yeah.
That's the real key, man. See, I'm mad about the George Floyd situation. I'm very upset.
Yeah.
But I'm even more mad when I see this on Soul Park and a black man just killed another black man or a kid get killed. I'm mad when I see somebody on Prospect and our people is killing each other left and right like this. I want to protest and ride on that too.
On that, yeah.
And then most of the time they tripping because they don't know how to make no money. See, when I was a kid, we didn't beg and borrow and bum on everybody. We went to go pump gas for people. We cut grass for people. We set up a lemonade stand. We sold candy. We sold bottles of water and Gatorade. We carried groceries for our elders to their cars to make money.
Facts.
We provided a service for somebody, man.
We shovel snow.
Yeah, we shovel snow for real. Like, we wasn't no playing. Like, we took out trash for them. We found a way to add. We provided a service for somebody.
Absolutely.
But most of these young people, when they took the trades out to schools, they don't know how to provide a service for nobody.
Yeah.
They don't understand the art and science of business. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
And so that's why they kill each other, because they don't know how to go get no money or structure no business or do nothing positive that can bring them a return for their investment.
And the first thing you talk to a brother, first thing you say, I ain't soft. I'm tough. I'm hard. I ain't soft. What you mean? I ain't, come on, man. It ain't about being sissified, tough, but it's about mutual respect, and it's about getting this thing going, man. Ain't about all that, man.
Yeah, it's just think about this, bro. Think about this. I had to actually really take a look at this. This just was an epiphany for me this year. This is sad.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, when we were first growing up, it was about your neighborhood. My neighborhood protect each other. We homeboys and we posses of 39th Street. We posses of the double nickel 10th Street, 12th Street. Right. We was posse. It wasn't no gangs like that. We were just posse of neighborhood friends.
Yeah, 33rd.
They come out with a movie called Colors. I remember like it was yesterday and I was in middle school.
Yeah.
And by the end of that week, everybody was claiming a crayon dang on color 100%. Of red or blue and fighting and beating and killing each other. And listen, it's so sad that this is my first year. I grew up and engulfed it in Crip gang banging and all that stuff. Yeah. My first year that I bought an all red outfit myself. I had to look at myself like, dang. Yeah. And when I wore it, it was kind of funny to me, but it was like, I'm like, That's how programmed we was to fight over a color.
Yeah.
It ain't about hard or not. It's about unifying as one people. In my closing, this is the most beautiful thing. This is the most beautiful thing. In the Bible, it talks about the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
And it talks about how black people, see, people don't even know that, man, they got us so programmed, they think that Moses was a white man. How you going to be an African, the heart of Africa, you ain't a black man?
Married to an Ethiopian.
Think of that. Married to Ethiopians, and it's crazy. Right? It's crazy how that story went.
Sure.
But he was an Egyptian, all these different things, so that they African American, they black. My people so programmed off this.
Yeah.
But they said in that message that they were so on one accord.
That's right.
Right? There was in such agreement.
That's right.
That was prospering, just like Black Wall Street, and building, doing. They was building a tower to heaven. This is how on one track, on one mind, on one accord, how strong they got it. God looked down and said, hold up.
Yeah.
That people is so serious and so focused and locked in as one, united.
Yeah.
That they might actually really get to heaven if they keep doing this. This ain't the way you get to heaven. I gotta confuse them.
Yeah.
In their language.
Yeah.
Right? So that way they can't run from each other, communicate, get on one accord. The day we get on one accord, everybody in the world know who we are except for ourselves.
Man.
We coming into the knowledge. But once we get on one accord,
man,
we got a military, we got masterminds, we got medicine, we got doctors, we got everything we need, brother.
Yeah.
And that's gotta be our focus, and we gotta start with the you.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of things you said in there, brother. That's so powerful, man. You know, I heard a quote some time. Okay, I heard a quote some time ago. They said, "It's easier to raise a child than fix a broken man," and that's the truth, man.
Hey, my favorite one is easier to have a newborn baby than to raise the dead.
You know, but you know what? You said something about colors, man. That I remember when colors came out, man. That was so. I remember when colors came out. You know, folks chose a side, but they chose a side, but it was still unity within that side. But the unity was broken up because they created this rift. I remember when Boys in the Hood came out. You know what I'm saying? Folks wanted to act. You know, folks was walking around with the pacifier in their mouth because they wanted to be like old boy. I remember when you know, Men's Society came out. Folks want to act like old dog with the braids. You know, and what I'm saying is. You talked about programming. I remember Eddie Griffin said something, man. He talked about television. He said, it's telling you a lie. It's live vision. Telling you a lie, and then it's programming you. Telling you a lie, programming. Tell live vision. And he said, now I was like, oh, man. Eddie got to be from Kansas City, but he is, though. But
I love Eddie so deep. I met Eddie personally. Here's the crazy thing you got to see. Remember at the beginning of the COVID virus when they started putting on the news, everything was rampant and it was, you know what I'm saying, everybody was super panicked, don't do nothing. You ain't heard nothing about COVID virus for the last 3 months like that heavy.
No.
I guarantee now that this flu season about to come around, you about to hear it start ramping back up.
Yeah.
You're going to see another 20 million people lose their jobs. We got the ability to work from home. You're going to see another 20 million people lose. It's going to start being rampant on the news again.
Yeah.
See, it's dying down. But as soon as the news start programming you, putting in your face all day, telling lies to your vision, got you panic mode. It's coming again. Watch what I say. It's gonna be coming so heavy. You're gonna be like, man, this is really how they program us.
There it is.